I'm really excited to be here with Mark, and I want to talk a little bit about the inspiration. So, anybody have an email inbox that's out of control? Or mine is right now, honestly. I think there are emails I need to respond to from 5 days ago at the least. I had a colleague at LinkedIn who was in a bit of concern over her lack of control. She tweeted, "Don't expect to hear from me today. I just got migrated from Gmail to Outlook." As you know, Microsoft acquired LinkedIn 5 years ago, and they were using Gmail, and she was part of the beta wave of moving into Outlook. They moved her inbox, and they didn't move the filters she had for all of the distribution lists she was on. So she couldn't find any of the emails she needed to read and respond to from all the junk that was in her distribution list that she didn't normally read. So I looked into this and tried to understand how I could help her. I thought there must be some tool that would do this. I couldn't find any. So I did a quick proof of concept in plain JavaScript 5 years ago at that first Microsoft Hackathon. And I've tried for the last few years to see if I could get it integrated into the product, and I apparently failed to make the business case. So I pivoted last fall when I saw that MVPs were now included in the Microsoft Global Hackathon for the first time, and pitched the idea, and luckily found a group of contributors led by Mark, really, on the strong contributions, and also Sid, who Bob had pointed out had submitted a team sample earlier this week. So yeah, I'll hand it off to Mark for a demo.
Cool. Right. So this is, some Gmail filters that I've set up here with basically some filters that do most of the things that you might want filters to do. And the basic problem we have is that, we work for somebody who's been acquired, and we're all shifting over from Gmail to M365. We want to get these copied over, so we want to either export these filters in some way or just get them copied over, so that although our email has been set up and our folders have been set up, we don't have these filters going. So what we did is we set up Teams app to do this. The essential point here is that you're already in Teams, you're already authenticated into Microsoft 365 once you're in there, and it means that in theory this is a nice easy place for you to go and load up sort of a tab in this case, which allows you to do this import. So it's essentially very, very simple looking app. So you come in, you can either use that export and simply just upload the XML here. What we've also got is a built-in fetch Gmail here. So what that will do, if I hit that will fire up the normal Google OAuth flow, go off to my Gmail account, and actually pull those filters in. So, crossing his fingers. Hey. So you can see here what we've got. We're using the Fluent UI controls here, so that's pulled in those three rules. We can turn them on or off. And essentially that's pretty much the guts of it. Is it will go off and fetch your filters, and now if I hit move them, right, I'm wearing green, I'm in Ireland, it's St. Patrick's Day, the luck of the Irish should trump the demo gods.
I've seen this work.
Yes, yeah, I promise you this does work. Okay, I'm not going to try and debug that now, but essentially that just will take you to a final screen that says, hooray, you've imported 3 filters, click here to see them. And when you click here to see them, it will pop you through to your rules pop-up in Outlook, and you should then be able to see filters and adjust them and show them. I should point out at this point, I am an Azure MVP. I have not a clue what's been going on in the rest of this call. So part of the point of this particular sample is how easy it is, in theory, to get all this stuff going when you know nothing about 365 or Graph at all. My main expertise coming into this was React, which is where I came in. So we'll switch over to the React bit, because that's a bit easier to go through. So yeah, essentially this is a fairly simple Teams Toolkit app. So yeah, we've installed the Teams Toolkit Visual Studio Code extension, and that scaffolds something that looks pretty much like this. So yeah, we've got our library stuff in here for using Graph and things already there. So we've got the two things there. So we've got a filter upload there, which is a fairly simple thing, not really related to 365 at all. The slightly more interesting one here is this Gmail fetch. So what this is able to do is we can use a standard React Google login, feed it in a Fluent UI button. As you saw, that all connected up nicely, gives us the thing. Yeah, we've got an error message here, which is an error message control, which you just saw, in fact, which shows an official Teams alert. But the nice thing about this is that we can go in, we can pop up the login and get the OAuth going within the Teams app. This works reliably on a standard web Teams. Depending on the version of your desktop client, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Tom has seen it working out in the desktop client, but with the version that I've got, that bit doesn't work. So you may find yourself having to use that backup of importing the export. But what we can do here, we can just go off within here, go and fetch all the information from each of the criteria and turn that into a standard format, which we'll then pull in. So we've got here, that's the bit where we actually display everything. So that's pulling through all your various, text items for each of the things that are in there. So you can see all the things that we're displaying there. And then in, the final stage where we actually pull it in, when it's working, we've got a fairly simple thing here where we just use Graph library thing that the Teams Toolkit gave us. It comes in. We then just go and get a couple of folder IDs and rules from the Graph, and then we can just go through each of the filters, turn that into the format that Outlook is expecting, and then just go and post that up as a new message rule. So in theory, we've just got a few lines of Graph API code there, and hey presto, we've imported all our Gmail filters as Outlook rules. And then that's the bit that you didn't see, but migration complete. Head off to Outlook, go and see the rules. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going on in there. I did put in a PR for this. I'm told that the person who was checking the PR couldn't get it up and running, so I'm going to add some extra magic and throw a dev container in there. So hopefully when you go and get this from the samples repo, there'll be a dev container in, which means that you can just tell Teams to run it in the dev container, and that will automatically pull in the toolkit extension for you and have everything
probably talk. It's got some connection to whatever tenant you were debugging in, so you might want, we should talk offline. You might
Thanks, Bob.
not want, there's maybe some stuff in there you don't want to ship, so just let's talk.
Yeah,
We'll get that cleared out.
If I get a dev container around it, then we can be sure that it all works perfectly on anybody else's machine, because that's what containers are for. So.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. That's great. Thanks. I really appreciate it.
But yeah, that's it for the demo. If anybody has any questions, or if Tom has anything further he would like to say. I should just say that. Thanks again to Sid and Rewut, who did some of the code for this. I just kind of pasted it together and did all the glue and added a bit of UI to it. So thanks to them, and thanks to Microsoft for letting us in the hackathon this year. So it's quite a privilege to be involved in the Microsoft internal hackathon.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Mark. I just want to encourage you, if you're an MVP or a regional director, please join us in the next Microsoft Global Hackathon. I was really excited to be able to hack with 3 MVPs that last year. And if you're not an MVP, keep up these community contributions and reach for it.
Very
yes,
cool.
Chat. Yes, that was purely client-side script. Not that whole thing is React, so you don't have to host it on an app service or anything. You could, in theory, just shove it up in storage or static web app or something, and that would all be cool for when you're actually deploying it live.
Awesome. Yeah, that's very cool. And Mark, I appreciate you mentioning that the M365 landscape is kind of new to you as an Azure developer. It shows how the ease of extensibility there is within that landscape. So really thank you for sharing that and pointing that out. All right, great stuff.
And
Next
really
up,
cool demo. Thanks, guys.
yeah, absolutely.